How was your day?
A very busy day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, always busy. Always
Yeah.
busy. Always busy, balancing work and studies and everything like that. Always busy. But
Yeah.
oh, hey, oh, that's the nature of the beast. So, um, things happen to those who are organized and structured and push forward in life. So,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
good busy.
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. Let me just check.
Busy.
Yeah, I can. I'm online. So all good, all good. So I'm going to give it one more minute, and then we just go for it.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, oh,
Can you hear? Can everyone hear well?
I can hear you,
Yes, I
Bishop.
can hear you very well.
Okay,
Good
good.
evening, Mother Hamilton.
The Lord bless you, Pastor.
Good evening. The lady that's doing Jenny, can you hear me, Jenny?
Yes, I can hear you. Is
Good
that
evening.
Sue?
Yes, it's Sue. Yes,
Oh.
yes. Looking forward to the session.
You're welcome. I hope it meets your expectation.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead.
I have
So
messaged people
yeah,
independent.
that's fine. No, that's fine. Let me just keep my composure. That's fine. So we let me just do a proper preamble, and then we'll just go into this thing. Let me just pull up my document here. I'm doing multiple things. Um, First thing first, really appreciate you coming on board, Jenny. Really appreciate you coming on board today. So let me
You're
just
welcome.
okay, let me just make sure. Just going to do one more thing to check. I just need to do one more check, and then we're good. Yep. So we're pretty much live on all the platforms that I want to be live on. And let me just make sure that Instagram is live. Okay. Okay. So just making sure that everyone can hear me well, and then we're going to go into this presentation. So just doing the final check to make sure everyone can hear me and hear me well. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
Yes, hearing you.
Oh, perfect.
Clear.
Okay, so we're delighted to have Jenny Prince on for our knowledge pool. And let me just give you some context to who um, Jenny. We are the House of Praise Ministries, and as a sub department to the House of Praise Ministries, we have a component known as the knowledge pool. The knowledge pool is a complete separate entity that just provides capabilities around knowledge. So generally on a Thursday night, we run through a number of themes.
Okay.
If somebody could just go on mute, if someone could just go on mute, thanks. Yeah, someone could just go on mute. Yeah. So generally, we run these sessions on a weekly basis. And they cover things, political things. Last week we ran through a book launch. Week before we spoke about biblical topics, and the week before we talked about mental health, specific within the younger generation, primarily the Gen Z generation. And tonight we want to look at a topic and a theme which I feel is pertinent to not just the Black community, but to the majority of us. Let me just give some background to who this lady is. So, highly qualified team leader and manager with an extensive NHS background, with over 25 years of experience and proven track record in service development, 37, I believe it is, development and leadership. She began her career as a registered nurse, later qualifying as an independent nurse practitioner. Holds a- can I ask you? Can I ask you to just go on mute, please? Can I ask you to go on mute? Can I just ask you to go on mute, please? Thank you so much. She holds a Bachelor of Arts honours degree in applied social sciences and a master's degree in heart failure. And these qualifications, alongside years of dedicated work, have enabled her to progress in a current role as community matron in primary healthcare. Over the years, she's worked autonomously as an advanced practitioner, managing and leading a team of specialist nurses. Responsibilities have included developing nurse-led service clinics, creating personalized patient care plans, and embedding evidence-based practices to improve outcomes to individuals with long-term conditions. She's also contributed to the design and delivery of educational programs for healthcare professionals, including teaching on a master's program for a general practitioner's community nurse, and her work focuses on improving patient care across the full healthcare journey, from diagnosis through to the end of life care. And I think this is certainly a very, very interesting long life contribution to healthcare in the community within the West Midlands. And I'm sure you'll probably give more detail about your background if you so desire. So it really is over to you, Jenny. I think we're going to be talking about a theme about how we can leverage and optimize help our eating habits and contribute to vitality and life in our later years. So please, it is certainly over to you.
Thank you very much. I couldn't have done it much more better than what you have done. So that just sums up really of what I've done with my journey within the NHS. And in the latter 24 years, I just focus mainly on patients who's got long-term condition with heart failure. And that includes coaching with healthy eating, lifestyle, medication, so it's been really a pleasure to be invited to your meeting, and I hope this presentation meets the audience requirement.
I'm sure it will.
So without any further ado, just go into, so the aim really, what I'm focusing on tonight is just focusing on how to optimize your diet for longevity and vitality. And one of the things is, so what are adults eating? Why do we need to do this? So what are adults eating? What are we eating? And what the evidence show is that we, during the population, 98% of the population consume bread. So about 2 slices of bread per day. With meat, we consume 98% of the population of all ages eat red meat. Fish is consumed by 50% between the age of 18 to 64-year-olds. Dairy product, 98% of the population, and only 51% had reduced dairy intake. Ready-made breakfast, 61% of the population have that. 18 to 64-year-old will eat between 24% will eat just porridge. Fruit and vegetables is only 9% of the population will eat fruit and vegetables. And 15% of the over 65-year-old will eat about 400 grams of fruit and vegetables per day. So that's really just giving you a kind of background or insight into what our diet intake is like. When it come on to sweets like chocolate or puddings and stuff, the numbers are extremely high. 89% of the population will consume alcohol, and that's the age group between 18 and 64 years old. And the over 65 will even have more alcohol as well. And mainly because sometimes as people advance in age, they might be lonely, they might be more sociable, and so therefore their alcohol consumption can be a bit higher.
Mhm.
And when it come on to vitamins and supplement, only 28% of the population will take any supplements or vitamins, and mainly out of the 28% is women more than men.
Mhm.
So why is that? And one of the reasons, even within the health service, there's no really focus on healthy eating. And because one of my, throughout my journey, when I do see patients, one of the things that, well, no one ever really educates us about healthy lifestyle and diet. And also because there's so many different information out there in the publics about what is a good diet, or, the word diet put people off.
Yeah.
So therefore we just focus on, well, what is a balanced diet? And now there's more and more research coming out, even from in the cardiovascular viewpoint, is that good diet should start before pre-birth. So before you even start thinking of having a child, 6 months, both men and women, is to start changing your diet and start eating healthily, because it does affect the baby. So one of the reasons, looking really at the body and why do we need to optimize our diet? And I just break it down. I just start from the brain. And the brain needs lots of energy in the form of glucose, which we get from carbohydrates. The heart needs protein. It needs calcium, sodium, potassium, which are very important for healthy heart function. If we look at the lungs, it needs both vitamin C and vitamin E, which are important to support a healthy lung function. And our stomach needs protein and vitamins. And as the old saying said, if your gut is okay, then you know that your health is okay as well. So if you got leaky gut, or if you're constipated or if you're bloated, it just makes you feel drained, feel washed out. So it's really important to ensure that your whole system is working and well and is getting the optimum nutrition which they need. The kidney, which is so important, needs adequate water. It needs to maintain hydrated, and also it needs minerals, which are important for healthy kidney function. And as we reach the age of 30, our kidney function started to decline. So it's really important. And so from age 40, we lose 1% of our kidneys. So again, that need to be supported. Our liver, and as we can see and hear recently about fat liver syndrome and fatty liver. So our liver needs a balanced diet. We need to limit the alcohol intake, which causes liver damage. We need to ensure that we reduce the amount of toxin which should go into the liver. And also we need to have regular exercise. All of these are the really good things that we need to put in place to ensure that we maintain optimum health and ensure that our diet really are meeting all of our body's function and our organs are getting the right nutrients and minerals that they need to function properly. Our intestine also needs fiber and enough fluid intake to keep hydrated. And you'd be amazed the amount of people who do not drink water. They'll drink pop, they'll drink soda, they'll drink anything else from water. And water is so good just to flush the body and flush out all the toxin from your body. And also we need a good optimum diet to maintain a strong bone, such as calcium and vitamin D, and exercises. And again, from my learned and life experience and working with different ranges of people and patients and living in this country, you'd be amazed of how many people come in feeling sluggish, feeling tired, having pains in the joints. And when you check the vitamin D level, it's very low. So vitamin D is so, so important for us, for people living in this country or in the country where the sunshine is reduced, just to make sure that your vitamin D level is at the normal level that it should be. And one of the things that I do recommend to patients that I see in my clinic who's got very low vitamin level and feeling really sluggish, you should take vitamin D3, which you can get over the counter, and just have a blood test with your GP, see your GP and have a blood test and see what your vitamin D level is, especially if you've got joint pain and feeling sluggish. So the next question I just said, well, what is the best age to start optimizing your diet? And a lot of people said, well, it's a bit confusing. And as recent research, which I really, truly love, the new up-to-date research looking at diet and good health. And that start really from the baby is in the womb.
Mhm.
And, it starts from there right up. It's, normally people think, well, once you reach 50, then that's when your problems started to rise, when you feel the pain and the aches and you're not feeling well and you're going more to the doctors. But chronic, disease start at a very young age. It's only just materialized when you become more aware of it. Because as we advance in age, you find that you feel more aches and more pain, but it starts at a very, very young age. And that's what the new research is showing, that healthy eating starts from a very young age. And by doing that, that will help you to maintain a vitality when you're in your older or your advanced age.
Mhm.
So in
Can
one
I ask
sense, some of the
can I ask a question, Jennifer?
yeah.
So, just in layman's terms, I know we have some medical people online, but just in layman's terms, how do we really define optimizing one's diet? How do we define that? How would you conceptualize this?
Yeah, and that's where I'm coming on to the next page, because
Okay, fine.
optimizing it, because I just focus mainly under that because of the time span we've got, and if there's any question. Optimizing your diet really entail looking at what you put it into your body, and that's starting from carbohydrate, looking at protein, looking at fat, and also looking at your micronutrients and your micro. When I mention about macronutrients, they are complex carbohydrates such as these sweet potatoes, oatmeal, peas, legumes, and
Mhm.
all of these things are very important sustaining your energy. And if you focus on fruits and vegetables, and one of the things I always say to my patient, because I know evidence and researchers have shown to eat about 5 to 7 portion of fruits and vegetables, but I always said eat the rainbow. And if you keep changing through the week to say make a list of what different types of fruit and vegetables you have in the morning for breakfast, and what you have for lunch and what you have for dinner. It's really, really important so you can eat the rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
And things like grains, whole meal grains, lean protein, fish, no more than, for salmon, no more than 2 portions of salmon per week, simply because of the exposure of iron within the water, really, which can affect the brain. Nuts and seeds are really good, like basil nuts and walnuts, which is really good, healthy fat for the brain. Olive oil as well, which is really good. And then if you look at your micronutrients, and such as your vitamins and minerals, which are vital for the body function, and things like vitamin A, for your eyes, vitamin B, for your energy, and vitamin C, again, as I mentioned, for infection, to help to fight off infection, to boost your immune system, and vitamin D, which again for your bones, and vitamin E, vitamin K, and the minerals such as sodium and potassium, which you get from fruits and vegetables. And that's why the emphasis is to eat the rainbow, a variety of fruits and vegetables, which are really, really important. And also, one of the things which, as we advance in age, we do lose our micronutrients. Things like your magnesium level might be low, your zinc level, and your iron. And you find a lot of people might come in and just feeling a bit sluggish, the energy level a bit low. They've got a wound, which is taking ages to heal because the zinc level might be low and your iron levels are low. So all of those things are really important. And so if you eat your greeny leafy vegetables, and especially for men's health, if you eat a lot of red fruits and vegetables like red apple, watermelon, tomatoes, any fruits or vegetables that are red are really good for cardiovascular health, and especially for men, especially when it comes on to prostate, and for men, especially over the age of 40 as well. So those things really help to reduce the dampen down inflammation, because it's the inflammation through a food that causes disease, and disease causes us to be ill. And so the aim really of healthy to optimize your diet is to dampen down that inflammation. When you dampen down that inflammation, you're trying to optimize good health, and that's how your body can function more properly. So things like protein are really important for muscle building, and also to support your muscle. And as we advance in age as well, age 35, you find that we started to lose our muscle mass, both women and men. And, we do lose our muscle mass. So how do you maintain? Because it's really important, is look at your diet, look at lean protein such as chicken, and turkey, take the fat off the meat. And if you're going to have red meat, like beef, note the recommendation, don't have no more than 2 portions of red meat. And just look at your palm of your hands, and that should be the size of of how much red meat you should have. So if you look at your palm, we should do, and just that's the size of your red meat you should have. Healthy fats are really good for absorption of your nutrients. So again, we need to make sure that the fat that we intake, such as unsaturated fats, things like olive oil, avocado, those are really good healthy fats for us to intake, and again, nuts. And also trying to reduce unhealthy foods such as ultra processed food. And more research and evidence coming out is showing the damage that ultra processed food are doing. And when I said ultra processed food, is if you don't cook it, anything in a package or a tin, you know it's processed. It's full of salt, it's full of sugar. It's causing inflammation. And also to be mindful of our salt intake. So anything is really salty. The recommendation of our salt, a daily amount of salt that healthy individual with our cardiovascular disease should have is no more than 6 grams of salt, which is very difficult to measure. To say, well, what is 6 grams? So I've always said, pay attention, read food labels. So go for food labels that are more green. So look at sodium, look at the label, and if it said sodium, then look at how much and look at the portion, because sometimes it might say, oh, this is low, but that can of soup could be for 2 people when you just thought, oh, that's just what I wanted to eat. Because the salt intake, with you having a diet which is very high in salt, and every food, bread, everything you can buy and ultra processed is full of salt. It's got salt in it. And so if you take in said bread, 2 slices of bread, look at how many salt intake is in one slice. If you having baked beans on that and you put a bit of cheese, spread a bit of cheese, that salt intake is really high. What does salt do to the body? It's hardened the arteries. It causes your blood pressure to go up. If your blood pressure is really high, where patients are hypertensive, and when I'm saying hypertensive, we're talking about blood pressure over 140, over 90. That is hypertensive. And so if you got a high blood pressure, it just means that the heart is working harder. The blood vessels are more stiffer, and so therefore blood getting to your kidney is going to reduce your kidney function. And again, when you got a high salt intake, it's not only damaging the heart, but it's damaging also your kidneys as well. And if you look at the ethnic minority, one of the most silent killer is high blood pressure. What causes that? High salt intake. And you've got a high salt intake into the variety of different seasons that we use for a food. So again, pay attention to your salt intake. And if anyone's got heart problems like heart failure, or if you do have high blood pressure, the recommendation is your total amount of salt intake over the 24 hours should be 3 grams, which is very difficult to measure. So it's really important. And, if it's one thing you take away, just emphasize, look at your salt, look at your food label, look at the amount of sodium in it. And most breads are so full of salt. The only one that I came across which got less salt is soda bread. So the next thing really is so what are the secret to aging well? So talking to most of the patients that I care for and looking at the research and the feedback, one of the things that they say, they suggest really, the secret really is just to focus on a balanced diet. And again, the balanced diet is to make sure that you've got, if you imagine your plate is the amount of half of that plate should be a lot of fruit and vegetables. And then if you cut back just a little bit of the fat, and then you look at your protein and you look at your carbohydrate, because your body need that every different organs need different things in our body. So it's just making sure that your carbohydrate, your protein, your fat intake, your vegetables, your fruit and vegetables, you know, are at the right portion that you need to take. And each individual, you know, you can have very tall men, you can have very small women. We just got to look at your weight goals and your weight and your height, and you know, your energy, how much energy you're using. If you're getting up and mobile and doing exercise, then you need to look at how much energy you need to be taking in and not overeating or undereating. Also, they focus really and your mindful eating. And mindful eating is to making sure that what you eat in your intention, my intention is to ensure that I'm having adequate amount of carbohydrate, adequate amount of protein for my personal needs, for your individual needs. The fat, making sure that it's the good fat that you're focusing on. You're looking also at water, making sure that you keep well hydrated. You're making sure that you're reducing your sugar intake, like your soda, your soft drinks, and also most important to look at the caffeine, because there's a lot of caffeine in almost everything that we do have, you know, that you drink, and that is as well have an impact on our overall health and well-being. Focus on your salt by reducing it, reducing your sugar intake, making sure that you are taking adequate micronutrients like your minerals and your vitamins on a daily basis. Your exercise is so important. And one of the recommendation, if you can do 30 minutes of brisk walk every single day, that is really important. It's important in the way not only for your physical health and well-being, but also for your mental health and well-being. And also there's a recent research showing that, you know, even people in their 80s and 90s, if they can get up and move and walk, you know, at their own pace, you know, for 30 minutes every single day, what you're doing, you're supporting your bone density, because the bones, when you're doing that, it is so important. And also for women, as we go through the premenopausal stage or the menopausal stage, we really need to ensure that our bone health are maintained really well. And again, this is where your vitamin D are really important, and your calcium, to ensure that, you know, you maintain good bones health, to prevent osteoporosis or to reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Also, by reducing the sugar and, you know, and your diet, and you making sure that you're having the right portion, the small portion, because as we advance in age and we're not as active, we don't need to have a big plate of food. We just need to make sure that we're eating small and regularly, but it's really balanced, because by you doing that, you're not overeating, and also you ensuring that you're nourishing your body, because we lose our sense of smell and taste as we advance in age. And one of the things as well, again, going back to micronutrients, if your zinc level are low or being reduced, then you find that your sense of smell and taste, that will affect your smell and your sense of smell and taste. So it's really important that these micronutrients are monitored and, you know, regularly, and make sure that you are taking the right amount of vitamin and minerals to optimize your health. So really, in conclusion, it's not only about the carbohydrates or your protein or your fat or your water. All of these things are really important. But fundamentally, your micronutrients and macronutrients are really important to ensure that we are taking all of those adequately in at the right portion. And one way of knowing what your blood type, what your blood, is your body, are you meeting your body's need, is to ensure that you do have regular blood tests just to look at whether your kidneys function, your liver function, and also just to look at what your vitamin D level is. Because one thing that COVID did show to us, people who were dying tremendous from COVID was because the vitamin D level was really low. And vitamin D helps to dampen down that inflammation. So overall, all of the above really, it really play a very crucial role in boosting vitality and enhance longevity. So in order to stay healthy, you need to be both physically, mentally, and psychologically and spiritually in not only just your food that you take, but also your mind, making sure that you are you are surrounded by your loved one and your community, and and making sure that you're keeping well hydrated and feel supported. Thank you.
I think that was a very in-depth, concise, constructive, informative presentation. And Jenny, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I can see the years of experience have just been concised into just a couple of minutes. So thank you a lot. You said a couple of things, and I know you have a background in mindfulness. So probably I'll probably just tease out a couple of questions on that. I'll start with my questions. It's like a wheat, like a grain known as quinoa.
Yeah.
So I like that very much, and I think it's packed with energy. It's nutritious. Is that something that you would say is useful?
Yeah, it honestly, any grains are really good. And if you find that suits you, because not many people can, depends on, again, going back to your gut, if some people might have diverticulitis or Crohn's, because it's got fiber in it. So again, if it's something that you use and you include that in your diet, yes, that's
Yeah.
fine. That is one of the superfood, which they call it,
Yes, right.
superfood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned, which was quite alarming to me, you mentioned about having or aiming to have a regular blood test. I've never really come across that. I tend to have a blood test if there's like an underlying illness, and then the doctors might suggest to have a blood test. So you do suggest to have a blood test to look at the tickers and to look at your markers. Is that a good approach, you saying?
Yeah, I think, you're not going to have it regularly, but if you're feeling unwell and you're feeling tired and you feel, and this is what, in the many years of my experience of looking after patient and monitoring the blood tests really regularly, because of the medication that we've got to titrate. It's just like, okay, let's have a look, just going through the diet, because I use a coaching approach to all of my patients so they can tell me and feel confident and to see, where they are and how they're feeling. And just based on that, and I said, okay, you taking a vitamin D? And they will said no. So let's check your vitamin D level. Or if they've got a wound and the wound, and also not being healed, said, okay, let's just do a zinc. It's not a test that they do regularly, but by doing that, that's come back being very low. And you find a lot of people, whether black, white, yellow, pink, living in this country. And if they're not taking vitamin D, you'll find that your vitamin D level will be low because of the lack of sunshine. And also, as you advance in age, most elderly people stay out of the sunshine. So yeah, it is really important just to check what your vitamin D level, especially if you're feeling getting pains all over in your joints and stuff. And honestly, I can hands on my heart to say, patient who I do used to see in my clinic, and I suggest, let's check your vitamin D. And the vitamin D level always come back being low. And after they've been on vitamin D, within a couple of months, they feel much better.
Yeah, excellent. I think I've got a couple more questions, but I think they'll probably just flush through the questions that will come from the audience. So I think at this point I'll just allow a round table, round robin, for whoever has questions to just bring them to bear. So if you want to just unmute and just share your questions.
I'll come in with a question on vitamin D, as you've just spoken about it, please, Jenny.
Absolutely.
I must admit that when I first started to take vitamin D, I was confused as to how much I should be purchasing, because the GPs now, it used to be that they would give it on prescription, but now with all the economic changes and everything, they're very much sending you off to buy your own.
Yeah.
And I'm a great believer in vitamin D and have taken it for several years now. But when
Yeah.
you go to buy it, it's good to just remember that there are different doses out there. But as if you're an adult, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're an adult, you're looking for around about 600 IU, which means international units per day. And as you advance in age, once you become to about 70, it does increase to about 800. So when you're looking for tablets, I've seen 800 international units, I've seen 400 international units, also 1,000 and 2,000, and even as much as 4,000. But the recommended dose, a lot of pharmacists have said to me in the past, go for the 1,000 units. Would you agree?
I always said it depends on what your vitamin level is. It's really important that your vitamin D level, you know what it is, and then and that's really where your blood test will give you what your vitamin D level, whether, because you want it to be above 50, your blood test. So, so it's really important to find out what it is rather than putting your finger in the dark to say, well, what should I have? Because you don't want to overtake in, something exceeding it. You need to make sure that it's maintained within a normal range, which is acceptable, and you're not overtaking too much vitamin D.
So, for example, if your levels are within the normal range of vitamin D and you're taking it daily, what dosage would you suggest that people go for if your blood levels are normal?
And again, honestly, and again, I'm not checking out. It depends on your condition. It depends if you're a woman or if you're a man. It depends on your age group. It also depends it depends on whether you've got other underlying condition, because don't forget your kidneys got to help to filter this as well. So it depends on your kidney function. So again, this is where it's so important to said, you consult with the GP to said, this is what my blood test is, and your underlying condition, any other comorbidity that you do have, and any other medication that you do have. And that's why it's important really to liaise with the GP.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it is really, really important, because what you don't want to do, Sue, is you're taking a vitamin D, but you don't know what your blood result is. And if you've got underlying other comorbidities, that might have an impact as well. And the other medication, because we know how many medication, if you're on 5 or more medication, those are going to interact as well. So it's about safety.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for your insight into that. Thank you.
Yeah, it really, honestly, it's so important, but also you get vitamin D, not just from the tablets, because you do get vitamin D from other food sources like mushrooms.
Yeah, and mackerel, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jennifer.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's really important really that you're always working, you know, liaise with your GP just for your medical it's safety really. I always work on safety, you know, rather than say because not one um can't fit everybody. You know,
Yeah.
you have to look at your individual needs and your individual you know, diagnosis or what else is going on in your life and stuff. And that's why your GP is your main source really to get in touch with.
Okay, thank you for that, Jenny. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, it's just open for
May I
anyone
answer?
to ask some questions, please.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Ali.
I must first commend the presenter, the ease with which she has come across and the much information she has compacted in the short space of time.
Thank you.
But I spot an irony there because, of course, you talk about the socializing as an element to staying active and sharp, and
Yeah.
and also, you know, the importance of a balanced diet. But the irony is that we live in a society where across the globe, the nuclear family is under siege.
Yeah.
So having your family around you, and especially the time when you need the most, they might not be there because of the siege against the nuclear family, and also the cost of living element.
Mhm.
How does one maintain a balanced diet in the economic conditions that we are? But that's beside the point. The question I really want to ask is,
Mhm.
what are there any causal link between, say, are there any cultural and genetic links to longevity? Because I find that some people, no matter what they eat, they might not live long enough, and whatsoever they eat, they might just continue living. So, is there any causal link between culture and genetics and longevity?
Yeah, I think they are doing a research now, isn't it? To looking at our diet and health eating. But again, you know, they look at places where like Italy or Sicily where
Blue zones,
you
blue zones, so-called
yeah,
blue zones.
if you're looking at the culture, you know, because one of the things is if you got a family, and your family don't have to be blood relatives, your family could be your community, could be your friends, isn't it? Because they can become your family. And so therefore you do have people who live longer basically because they pay attention to their diet. They are very active. They participate, you know, in the community, even though they might be elderly, but they're not, you know, they're not just put out and said, you know, you're old now. So
Isolated.
different culture do embrace, you know, and use people as they advance in age to either to support the children, rather, you know, to cook. So you live as a community, you very actively participate. You can cook. I mean, I've been to St. Lucia recently and just meeting up with people, and you know, and it's such a lovely place. It's just like I live down the road, you live up the road, we cooking, we swap food, and that kind of culture share. You know, I've got one mango, you've got, you know, an apple. Let's get together and make a fruit salad and stuff like that, and they share it. And it's things like that. I think in this country, sometimes we lose that. We forget, you know, that you family don't have to be blood. Your family can be community, can be your neighbor. You can cook together, you can share together, you can laugh together, and you know, and you can go for a walk together.
Yeah.
And it is possible.
Mhm. Jenny, I don't know if you have the ability to just turn on your light a bit. You're just coming across as quite dark in the room.
Okay, yes, I do. Sorry.
If you could do that because it is being recorded and we're developing a body of knowledge for other people to
I get
listen.
caught up.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you
No,
see
that's
me?
perfect. Yeah, perfect. We can see you. Yeah, so I think that was a great question, Dr. Reddy. I don't know if anyone has any other questions.
I didn't hear much about the genetic fact, the genetic element, but that's fine anyway. She's answered, you know. Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else with questions? While everyone's probably trying to unmute, one of the things, Jenny, that is quite endemic with the Black population, the Black race, and I'm being specific here. I'm probably being a bit selfish, but the African Caribbean, and I'm probably being more specific. I could be more specific, but I'll just say the African Caribbean. There's a high percentage of the male prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And is there causality? Is there a causality because of genetics? So it's predisposed, so it's coming from, the genes that come down from my father, my father's father, and so on. Or is there a way that we can circumvent that through eating? Or is there a mix of genetics?
It's a combination of everything and also lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I can say I can relate to that, not be, in the fact that I've got brothers and I've got sons. And one of the things I've always say to my sons, one, my youngest is in his 30s and my eldest, is in his 40s, is that to always check yourself from a young teenager. And I've said to my youngest is, because he reached 30, is just like go and have a PSA test.
Yeah.
Simple because Black men do not talk about their health. And I think it's not just Black men, most men. But I have cousins who passed away from prostate cancer. And that's one of the things why I say to my sons about always check, making sure and go and have your PSA. But the research and the evidence show that ethnic minority Black men are 3%, are prone to prostate cancer 3% higher than the white counterparts.
Yeah.
And so therefore your PSA levels are much, will be higher. And it's really, really important. Your prostate and also the clothes that you wear, tight jeans or you're sitting down all day. And those little babies not getting any fresh air and it's keeping warm. So it's about how do you reduce. And again, don't forget what causes disease is inflammation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so therefore it is so important. And the reason why I can relate to it on a personal level, because I had two cousins and plus male cousins and plus my brother, which I love dearly, who's being diagnosed with prostate cancer, but it's been caught early.
Excellent.
And so therefore it was a matter of for me to say, hold on a minute, there's so many in the family. What age do we need? Just like women need to check their breast. And if your mother or your grandmother have the breast cancer, then the prevalence of the male in the family will have prostate cancer. So, and that is something that I recently discovered because of my family history, and I was just very curious, want to find out if, my mom passed away from a breast cancer, my younger sister also, and looking at the family history with males who had prostate cancer, what age, and and the advice I was given, from because of that prevalence, what's happening with the female is the same can happen to the male. Is just to make sure that male checking their prostate, and and they normally said age 40, you go and see your GP and have a PSA level. But for a Black man, I always say go a bit early.
Yeah.
Look at your diet, reduce smoking if you smoke, reduce your alcohol intake, because alcohol, again, it, it not only does it cause cardiovascular disease, because when you drink alcohol, it goes straight to the heart, and also it slows the heart down, but also it damages the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's damaged the heart, what else does it damage?
Mm-hmm.
Look at your diet. And again, as I said, for men, and to reduce the inflammation of our prostate, it's just vegetables and fruits. That's very, we should red apple. Have a red apple every day,
Mm.
and tomato. But if you suffer from arthritis or joint pain, then, reduce the amount of tomato, because again, that can cause inflammation, can flare up the joint pain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the evidence that's coming out, especially because with the seeds and the skin of tomato, that's, the actin that can cause the flare up.
Yeah.
And again, it's just looking at, papaya.
Yeah.
Papaya is
Yeah.
really quite good.
Yeah.
And for men, and also the seeds of papaya, because what we tend to do is take the seeds and throw it away. But the seeds of papaya is got a lot of micronutrients in it, which is really good to reduce the inflammation.
Well, I've noticed that there's a trend now with papaya, where it's been blended and
Yeah.
included in smoothie. So that's something very common now that's happening.
Yeah, and when you don't get me wrong, because I do like smoothies, and but if you're gonna make smoothies, make sure that you drink it straight away and not put it away somewhere,
Mm.
and again, it just, those things are really, that's why I said eat the rainbow fruit and vegetables, because by you looking to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the end of the week, you can do it.
Mm.
And all of the fruits and stuff, because what you're trying to do, the aim of having a balanced nutrients food is to dampen down inflammation.
Yeah. 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 That's. I wanted to ask you a question about free radicals, but we've run out of time. So
Yeah.
if there's no, let me just count down. If there's no questions from anyone else, we can just thank you. Let me just check to see that there's no more questions to come.
Okay.
And anyone with any further questions? Well, Jennifer, it has been a pleasure and an absolute delight. We can see that you're well qualified with a BA honors in your applied science and masters in your heart failure. So I know that what you've spoken is both practical, but it's also you've balanced the research as well, and you've been in the industry for quite a number of years. So we've thoroughly enjoyed the talk. And we probably should have shone the light on a specific person on the call tonight. We have one of our elderly members. Well, not really elderly. She's quite young at heart. Just jetted in from Spain a couple of days ago, and she's on the call, and she is and her name is Princess. Would you believe it? And she is old. She's over 90, because she's 90
Yeah.
a little bit, and extremely. If I was to encapsulate how I see her, one, she's intellectually sound. She's also
Yeah.
very technical, so she's able
Yeah.
to, cognitively hold a conversation on many subjects, and agile. And it really is a testament to God's grace. And obviously, she has been eating very healthily. Her name's sister, we refer to as Mother Hamilton. So she's on the call at the moment, 90 plus. So I hope that, I can reach that age. I hope so.
Yeah, and honestly, and one of the things is just ask her what is her secret.
Mm.
How does she live? Because she makes food become your medicine.
Mm. Yeah.
And but you've got to have set your intention,
Mm. Yeah.
and when you do eat healthily, why am I doing this? Because the aim is to dampen down your inflammation.
Information. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. Well, we thank you very much again for your time, Jennifer. And
Thank you.
if this cast is being played, we thank you for joining the House of Praise Ministries Knowledge Pool. The Knowledge Pool is a subdivision of the House of Praise, which provides body of knowledge, both academic, also theological and real life situations for the benefit of the community and for the hearer. So you've just tuned in to House of Praise Knowledge Pool. Next week, we'll jump back to a theological theme, which will be on the 5th of June, and that will be published. And then on the 12th, I have a consultant psychiatrist. Consultant psychiatrist will be coming on the 12th. And then she'll be talking about doing a deep dive on mental health within the community. So once again, we're so delighted and grateful to have you on, Jennifer. I'm sure that we'll work with you in the future. Do you do in-person presentations? Like, you know, if we invited you to we're based, I know you're based in, is it Tamworth?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're just up the road from where I am, but we are based in Smethwick.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we can talk about probably doing a in-person presentation, which would be really helpful for the members and other people. Let me just check.
Okay.
I think let me just check the chat box. See, okay, everyone's just saying that it's really useful and it's really informative. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you get your shed painted tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
God
you.
God bless
Thank
everyone.
you very much. Very
Thank
informative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandra Kelly and Red MI, whoever joined. So thank you.
Good delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.